Spooky. Welcome back. Oh, it's only spooky because I can hear it. I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, let's tell everybody we're here. It's been a while. I hope you're all well, my friends. We'll just wait for a few minutes for people to come hang out for a sec. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Quote tweet this and say, and we're live, everyone. Talking new CSS and Node. New project. That's what we're gonna do today. Stream link and reply. Grab the stream link. Am I actually live? Let's make sure I'm actually live. Yeah, we are live. Fantastic. Don't need to watch that anymore. I don't need to be my only viewer, right? That would be bad. We don't want to do that. How's everybody doing? What's going on? Welcome to the stream, everybody. There we go. Just in case I need to get on one of you people for being bad. I don't want to get on any of you people for being bad. You're nice people. We're gonna move that over here. Just getting my windows organized. It's been a minute since I've done this. Also, if anybody's curious, Sony is totally hanging out by my feet, just chilling and doing a thing, and I'm all about it because I love my dog. So, you know, here we go. Also, check out the new bling. I got new bling. Yeah, buddy. We're excited about that. She's awesome. Wedding photos were great. If people want to see them, let me know. I'll do a couple, but I won't go too crazy on it. My phone might just go off with an alarm at some point. Nah, that'll be like the end of it. We'll be good. I'm also I had a procedure done last week. I'm having to take some medicine for it, so just don't mind me. But let's check out the new CSS stuff. New CSS features in 2024. Let's see if we can find all of the really cool things and maybe go play with them. I kind of want to keep this simple. So here, let's go. Oh, isn't that nice? Love it. We're back. We're doing it the right way. All my settings are still there. So we're going to try these things because I think I'm very excited about them. I also know conceptually about some of them. Also, if anybody's here listening and like, hey, your desktop volume is just like way too loud, can you like throw me an L in chat or something? I don't know. Just tell me it's bad. I'll fix it. It's a little loud in my ears, but I don't think that means it's actually loud. So how do I want to do this today? I think we want to go and just do CSS the super duper old fashioned way. Which means we're not even going to start up a web server. We're going to be super duper lazy today. And by lazy, I mean we're going to do this a way I'm kind of happy about. CSS test. We're just going to make a directory. And let's just do an index.html. Let's do a index.css. And we're not going to do a JS file because we probably don't even need it. So let's do this thing. We're also going to cheat a little bit with Copilot. Write a basic HTML document with all the standard elements. Cool. Thanks, Copilot. Now I don't have to do that. But what's nice about it is if I go and we just call open here, if I just, drag that into my browser here, done. Check it out. It works. Super simple. Don't even have to think about it anymore. And I like that because now we can do all this super duper fun stuff that we're planning on doing. So we're going to need to do just a couple quick things. We're going to need to do style. And it's not style, it's index. And it's probably /index. And we're not going to write any CSS resets today. Only reason I'm not going to do any resets is it doesn't make sense for me to do it. Just kind of given what's going on today. So, but we are going to just test out that, the whole thing works. So let's just do like a background color of red. And if this whole thing turns red when I refresh, great. If it doesn't, we're doing something wrong. And I like figuring out early what's wrong. Why aren't you working? Yep, that's a file. Open in a new tab, maybe. Body background red. You see what I wanted. Does my body have no background color? Have I just not CSS'd in a long time? If I just do color red. Okay, what happens if I do header H1 red? Because that right, like color red. Okay, I'm not crazy. That should work. So why aren't you working my CSS? It's called index.css. This is a great start to a stream. How to debug something without a web server. Is it just this? No, it's not. So if we look at source, it's okay. If we just do index.css. Am I doing my style tag wrong? Use external style. I've probably just, yep, I've done this wrong. This is what happens when you don't do this, but like once in a blue moon. And for me, that blue moon just happened. Okay, what was it? It's not style, it's link. Ugh, I should know this. This is embarrassing. But you know what? It's a good kind of embarrassing because I just relearned something. Hey, so now if I change this to body and I refresh, and if I change it to the background color, awesome. Okay, now we have control over what is happening on our page. This is how we cook. So I'm actually gonna just collapse things around because I think we can actually look at both screens kind of simultaneously and have fun playing with it while we go. So I don't know where I want to start. If anybody's watching and has an opinion on where you want to start, let me know. But I think where I want to start, and maybe it's just easier to just go like down the thing and it'll show us how each of these things is working now. Does it? I don't know if this is how it works. I'm just trying to understand this article, but the table of contents, since it's scrollable, and that makes me super sad. And I want the table of contents to be scrollable on this page. Daily dev, please fix. In 24, here's a quick review of features, design more flexible. Here's a quick These updates are a set that makes us... Okay, let's start with container queries, right? Because container queries sound interesting. And their change for this. Okay, let's look at what are container queries. CSS container queries. I love MDN. Don't you? All right, so container queries. They are going to enable styles to an element based on the size of the element's container. Okay. If, for example, a container has less space available in the surrounding context, you can hide certain elements or use smaller fonts. Okay. Container queries are an alternative to media queries, which can apply styles to elements based on the viewport size or other device characteristics. Ooh, I think this is going to be actually quite interesting. And I think we should totally play with this and borrow exactly what they tell us to do. So let's see what they're giving us. So consider the following example. So we're going to have a card component for like a blog or something. We've done this on our website a few times. Cool. Now we can create a containment context using the container type property. Okay. You can create a containment context using the container type. Okay, so the post itself is our property. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. And that's actually kind of cool. So I'm just trying to make sure these values have the following effects. Okay, the query will be based on the inline and block dimensions of the container, applies to the layout, style, and size containment. They're using the inline size though. So what does that do? The query will be based on the inline dimensions of the container, applies layout, style, and inline size containment to the elements. Normal, the element is not a query container for any container size queries, but remains a query container for query style queries. Honestly, let's just play with this. Let's see what this looks like and then have fun with it. So on our page, doesn't need to be in a section. We're just going to put a card called post. Then in our index, we're going to give that post the inline size. You know what? We're going to go vertical here because we can do that. And we'll be able to see everything and just kind of play the game. All right. So then what they're saying next, use the container rule. So if we got the container type, that all makes sense to me. So now if we look, this is going to have the container type of inline size. We're good with that. This makes sense to me. All right. So the default heading styles for the card type in the container. So what it's saying, by default, this is going to be one rem. I'm going to change this to make it a little more obvious. I know I like M and rem better, but we're going to go 16 pixels by default. Actually, we're going to go more. We're going to make it 18 because it's H2. And then it says, you know, if the container has just a crap ton of space, so like it's got 700 pixels or more of space, let's up the font size. I'm going to make this kind of obnoxiously obvious, more for demo's sake than for anything. So if we do that and we go look at our thing, let's do a refresh. Hey, look, here's our card title and here's our card content, just kind of like we expected. And just to show y'all I'm not cheating or anything, let's just get rid of all the CSS for a second. So that's what it looked like before. We didn't do any resets or anything. That looks reasonable to me. So let's re-enable it. Now it's huge. And actually, let's go ahead and like just make a post, have a background color of, let's say, purple for now. Because we want to see what's happening here. And we can kind of see, oh, hey, look, there's our element. We know where it is. It's got, looks like there's some margin padding stuff on the page. Maybe we want to reset that later. But for now, this is fine. So if we look at our card, you can see it's currently 944 pixels across the screen. All right. Well, what happens if we put... Well, let's actually throw this into a section now, right? And we're going to spell section correctly before we actually do it. But let's throw it into a section. This section is... We're going to cheat for a second and just do an inline style. and just say width is 50%, because this is going to be 50% of the screen, right? And then we see, hey, there's our card, it's 50%. And look, our title here is only about 18 pixels because that's what we told it to be. That's really cool. So, I mean, I'm just going to go to the exact example in my head where I'm like, oh man, that would be really awesome. Like, I'm looking at these, right? This is my own blog and my own website. On a big screen, like, that looks great. But on a small screen, it's a little big. Maybe it's the right size. Maybe I just picked a good font size. I'll let you tell me that. But like, now I could say, like, hey, as this container's changing and morphing, give these elements different sizes. I think that's just like a really awesome thing. I'm gonna give a shout out to a friend of mine, Matthew Pelham. Matthew Pelham, if you are listening right now, it happened. So if y'all are wondering what I'm saying, back in 2018, 2019, somewhere in that range, I was working with Matt, and Matt was actually very much wanting exactly this, and he started creating and working with experimental libraries and things to actually make this happen within a website we were working on. It's not even called that anymore. It's called StartGG. So he was trying to make these container queries work on certain pages specifically for this exact use case. He had things that needed to work differently when its outer container hit different dimensions. And it was to try to make the pages a little more user-friendly. So like if I went to this page, Evo Japan, because I think this is, I'm trying to remember the exact place he was doing this, but yeah, so like if you came to this page, I'm not gonna be able to read this. Let's go to something in English. I'm sorry, Evo Japan. Like, respect it. You should totally be in your language. I just can't read it. So I'm pretty sure it was on this page, and I think what Matt was trying to do is he was trying to make it so, you know, these elements behaved a certain way when they were on different screen sizes, and I don't think we ever got it working, because you know, if you look, like, those don't change they change a little bit, but I think he had to end up using and hacking into media queries and making it work with media queries. But instead he wanted to be able to do like boxes stacked next to each other, and based off of like how those boxes were stacked left and right, make the fonts adjust as needed. So like, pretty cool concept. I'm glad to see this is actually in formal CSS. Like, this will be super important for like container grids. This will be super important for Flex. I can just tell you there's like an enormous amount of use cases here, and I think this is just cool. I'm sure people have written like a blog post and a half on it already, but I think that's just great. That's so cool. I'm very happy about that. Now, what I am curious about, and I'm just trying to understand what the difference between size and inline size is. So, you can name containers. That'll be helpful when you're like trying to do queries on those specific containers. So it was just based on the nearest ancestor with the container. Yeah. Oh, that's handy. So like if I wanted to call this, you know, blog post, right? What I could do is container name, I think. Yeah, container name is blog post, right? And so now if we go back to our example, like, it's still going to work, no problem. But let's say I, you know, did one of, I'm just going to get rid of it and just set this to, let's just set it to something obnoxious, 72 pixels, right? And for sake of this, we're going to get rid of our little cheat code here because I want to see this happening. Okay, so in this case, I've got better specificity, so it actually used the blog post. But if I remove the blog post from this, looks like it used the second one. What happens if I flip the order here? Yeah. So if you don't use the specificity and somebody overwrote it for whatever reason, you would lose your styling, and that'd be a bad day. So this would just like, let's say there was another, just generic card. Let's say instead of a post, it was here. Let's just go ahead and do it. Instead of post, let's just put a I don't know. Let's call it an article, because I'm good at naming things. And then, we want div class is, let's make this a card too. And then we're going to just do card title, card content, and we're just going to throw it on the page, and you're going to see like, hey, we don't have the background purple. We're good with that, right? But if I were to go and just call it article and just say container type is, inline size, all of a sudden this is now using the least specific example, because the most specific example would exclude it. That's helpful to know. So name your containers, everybody. That's a thing. Name your containers. All right, we're going to delete our container though, because we don't actually need it for this thing. Now we're kind of curious, what's the difference between inline size and size? So I'm going to just change this to size. I'm going to refresh real quick. And for some odd reason, the background color is no longer purple. If I do that, it's purple again. If I do that, it's no longer purple. All right. Why? Tell me why. Tell me why. Oh, and there is a shorthand for all this, which is name your container and set its size. Okay, cool. We like shorthands. Oh, and there's a new unit that you can use to help you do calculations. Oh, that's interesting. I would hate this. I don't think people... I would use it, but I don't want to do it. For browsers that don't yet support container queries, grid and flex can be used to create a similar effect for card component used on the page. The following example uses grid. That just sizes the thing. It doesn't actually let you do like the targeting. Well, I'll wait till all the browsers support this, but this is cool. But I still want to know what the difference between these two things is. So the query will be based on the inline dimensions of the container. Applies layout, style, and inline size. Applies layout, style, and size containment. What is size containment? Using CSS containment. So, CSS containment improves the performance of web pages by allowing the browser to isolate a subtree of the page from the rest of the page. Cool. If the browser knows that a part of the page is independent from the rest of the content, rendering can be optimized and performance improved. This also makes sense. The contain and content visibility properties enable developers to inform user agents whether or not an element should be... Okay, cool. Basic example. We got articles. For example, using several articles, each containing a headline and content as the markup. Cool. With CSS, we can apply the contain content property with the value of content to each article. The content value is shorthand for contain, layout, paint, style. Okay. Logically, each article is independent of the other articles on the page. The information is something that is usually known and likely quite obvious. Cool. By setting this on each article, we've indicated this. We've told the property... Okay, I should not skip things. Sometimes it's RTFM time, y'all. It's RTFM time. There are 4 types of containments. Layout, paint size, and thing. The contain use the property. Okay. So... size containment. Just making sure. Is that what I'm actually looking at one more time? We're looking at container type, not contain. Size contain... Okay. Size containment does not offer much in the way of performance optimization when used on its own. However, size containment means that the size of the size contained element's children cannot affect the size of the element itself. Its size is computed as if it had no children. Okay. I don't know how this is explaining what I'm trying to do, though. I really don't. I guess it applies that, so that makes sense. So the query will be based on the inline and block dimensions of the container. The query will be based on the inline dimensions of okay. What's the difference between inline and block? I'm looking for inline and block. The blow diagram shows the inline and block directions in a horizontal writing model. Inline, block. The diagram shows the block and inline in a vertical. Okay, got it. Okay. So this maybe makes sense to me now. Key subject work with flow relative values is in the dimension of block and inline. As we saw above, newer CSS such as flare and okay, concepts of block and inline rather than right, left, top, bottom. Okay. The inline dimension is the dimension along which a line of text runs in the writing mode in use. The block dimension is the other dimension and the direction in which blocks, such as paragraphs, display one after another. Okay, so let's translate that for a second. So when I made this inline size, it only cared about that dimension. Right? So that's what we said. But when I go to size, all of a sudden this stops working. I think it's because you can delete this container, I think. It's because it's the min width and min height. Yeah. Whoa. What did I just do? But actually, what did I just do? So if I get rid of that, it does that. If I add that, all of a sudden things are very broken. Huh. I'm doing something very wrong. So query container size? Query container. I'm looking at the size property. Yeah. Using container size and style query. Nope. CSS container query size. Nope. Well, actually, this is a good question. And it is Brave on here. If it's on Chrome, I should be good because it's just Chromium under the hood. I should be good. I mean, it's supported on everything but IE, and nobody cares about IE. So I'm good with that. Let's look at the log rockets guide because you know there's going to be a log rocket blog post on it. Let's see if we can find if they wrote size. All right, CSS containers allow us to use a style in regard to its parents or container. Nope. Here we go. All right, defining containers. To define a container, we will have to select an element using any CSS selector such as a class or ID, and then use the container type property on the element. Generally, container can accept 3 values. Yes. Okay. Whenever we set container type, it means that the element is not a query container for any container size. However, it is valid because it can be used to apply styles to the element. Okay, I don't know why you would use normal, but okay, let's keep reading. Container type size will cause the container not to assume the position it has on the viewport. Oh, hello. This explains a lot. Was that not here? Why is that not here? Okay. Well, well, this answers a big question. This means that you must explicitly set the height and width of the container. Meanwhile, container type inline size will ensure that the element assumes the position it has on the viewport. Okay, so that all makes sense to me, but all it actually tells me is I'm probably only ever going to use container type size. We're good. All right. I think we're good to move on. So, in short, query containers. Super cool. Like, super cool. All right. So, I don't know why that's not a link, but let's find the link. Okay. So, the LSCH functional notation expresses a given color using the LCH color space, which represents lightness, chroma, and hue. Whoa. Okay. It assumes the same L-axis as the lab color function of but the polar coordinates C, chroma, and H, hue. So absolute values. Okay, so this is a valid color. We're gonna have fun with this, y'all. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this back into an inline because gross otherwise. And then we're gonna play with this color property that I've been kind of having fun with. All right. First off, it's kind of cool to see what it's showing me right now. Can I just like, okay, cool. We're just going to comment these one at a time and then uncomment them, grab them, throw them into our color and see what happens. It's a little different, but I vibe it. So these are just ways to change. Okay. So if I change this to like, so this says 72.2. Okay. So that, okay. Hold on. Let's make sure we understand this. It goes lightness, chroma, hue. Lightness, chroma, hue. So so this is this is chroma that I just impacted, right? So that's your chroma. And that got much lighter. And we see that. This is lightness. So if I go like, let's just say 88% light. Yeah. So now it's super light. Okay. And then if I go the other direction, I go like 1. Hell, let's make it 0. All of a sudden we get black. But if we go 1. Okay. Neat. Okay. Figuring out what each of these property does. And then this last one, I'm guessing this is the color number. So if I go to like 108, 256, 355. Oh, maybe we just went around the color wheel. So like 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm guessing it's like every 10 or so I'll see something different. Can I just... No, it's not that one. Nope. There used to be a button for this. Is it this one? Nope. Nope. Okay, I don't know it anymore. There used to be a way to just do what I'm trying to do. 7, 8, 10. It's interesting. So just a new way to define colors. Don't know if I like this, because I'm only seeing like reds and greens right now. I'm guessing there's more, but I feel like I just hit the limit. So I'm guessing some combination of these things. We'll just like figure it out. Okay. I'm going to leave the word neat there. Now I want to see what this one does. So from green to LCH divided by 0.5. So these aren't gradients. They're just solid colors. Yeah. Nope. Thank you for coming, bot. How do I... There's a button. Where's the button? There's a button. I need moderation tools sometimes. How to deal with this? Do I need to actually go to the channel itself? One of these days I'm going to figure it out. No, this is... How do we do this? How... God, I am quite terrible at this. So we're... Please don't spam my channel with things like this ever. I don't appreciate it. I'm just going to time you out, but I'm trying to find the timeout button. There it is. There it is. We're just gonna do a timeout on that. I'm not gonna ban you for that. First offense, no reason to ban you, but I'm gonna time out comments like that because that's nonsense and I don't need that here. So thank you, but go away. Okay, so this isn't what I thought it was. I was hoping this was like gradient stuff, and I thought that was gonna be really cool. But no, this is just a way to relatively change colors using this like hue feature. I'd like to understand this from both my designer friends and my CSS friends. Why do we need all of these like different notations for colors? Like, what happened? I'm honestly saying this because I think I'm about to sound dumb, but why do we need more than RGB? Why do we need more than hex? Like, I understand you need RGBA, like having some of that opacity tweaking, but like, you know what? I'm just going to post on Twitter. Like this just feels like a Twitter post. So let's just go. CSS and design friends. Why do we need several different ways to convey color via CSS? I understand RGBA, hex, etc. But things like HWB, LCH, lab, and other newer color formats don't make sense to me. Please educate me. Like, actually, I just don't know. And we'll just do CSS and design that way, so maybe we can get into their communities and actually... I need to be educated. Like, please educate me. That's all I ask. I don't want to be ignorant, but I can't sit here and continue to do this because I don't understand the value in it. It's cool. I like understand there's different ways and like that's interesting, but like my brain doesn't think like that as a developer. So when I'm doing this type of stuff, it's just like this is the last format I would ever want to use. But I know I can get it out of Figma and just not think twice about it. But then when somebody's like, hey, does that color look slightly off to you? Like, I have no idea how to go debug it. I mean, I kind of do, but like, you know, like I can come in here and I can inspect my element, look at my post, and then, you know, where is it? Compute it. Like, hey, there's my color. I understand that. And then if I open it, I think I'm allowed. There used to be a time when you could just like click on this and it would give you all the different variants. Now it doesn't. I missed that feature. What happened to that feature? There was a way to do it. How? All right. Chrome, DevTools, colors, how to view in different formats. Go to styles on the right side, select the color styles you want to change. No, I don't want the color picker. I want to change like how to change in different format like hex to RGBA. This is what I want. Oh, what do you got? Click the box on the left of the color, hold shift click See, I knew it was there. I knew it was there. I just couldn't remember how to do it. So if I shift click, set to shift click. What? No, that I did shift click. Shift, Command, Alt, Control. No, it's not a shift click. Click the box to the left of the color. Yes. I'm clicking that box. I am literally clicking that box. I'm not even kidding. I am clicking that box. What is wrong? Okay. Let's just make sure. Let's just see. Like, I'm using Brave browser. You know, different browsers, different behaviors. Like, let's just, you know, let's just give it a go. If anybody's curious what that was something a friend sent me. But I'm not gonna get into that right now. Okay, trying again. If I click the box, if I shift click the box, clicking the box does nothing. Starting to lose it a little bit, y'all. I'm like, what? Why? This should work. Is it because I'm on a Mac? Did I disable this by accident? Doing something wrong, obviously. Well, if it's not working in Chrome and it's not working in this thing, then I feel significantly less dumb than I did 5 seconds ago until I just accidentally killed the browser I was doing stuff in. Thanks. Thanks, me. I'm a bad person sometimes. I'm sorry. All right, we're back. Let's see. What am I? Okay, we said we didn't want that. Right. We're trying to just see if we can actually click on this and see it in the different form. Like that should be a thing. I'm sad if it's not anymore. Like this, it used to be. Okay, I am pressing shift explicitly and I am clicking. I am clicking on my actual computer. Okay, no. Is it a right click? Possibly? I'm actually a little broken right now. What is happening? Sources, JavaScript, detect, code folding, show white space. I did change this earlier. I want trailing. Display variable value inline while debugging. Focus, CSS source maps, allow scrolling past. Okay, let's see if I can find. You can hold shift and click on the box to toggle through various format. This might have been true, but it is my problem that I'm not using. Wait, yeah. Oh, am I on the wrong screen doing it? Hello. Okay, hold on. Okay, there's no box here though. Where's my box? All right, let's go back to one of the simpler LCH colors. Okay, now we have the box. Yeah, okay. This is what I expected. This is what I was trying to figure out the whole time. So, like, when doing the stuff, like, I don't know why we need all of these. I just don't. I'm just going to copy that. If somebody already responded, that would be awesome, but I don't think they actually did. Okay. All right. Specifically, why this? I don't get it. And I would like to understand it. Like, please educate me. I don't get it. I just don't. All right. We're going to move on. We're going to go to the next thing. CSS variable enhancement for dynamic theming and easier. Let's read about this, actually. They might have it here. CSS variables make it easier to change how a website looks by tweaking a few settings. Yes. In the future, websites might use these variables to let users change the website's theme themselves, like adjusting colors or font sizes with just a few clicks. This means the website can offer more personal touch without needing a complete redesign. Does anybody remember MySpace? This is MySpace. I'm just... Does anybody remember MySpace? Is MySpace still a thing? Actually, yeah, MySpace. I'm curious. Like, if I go to a person's page, I haven't opened my MySpace in forever, but like, wild. Like, this page is absolutely wild. Huh. Artist pages. What about a normie? Like, where's Tom? Where's Tom? I want to be friends with Tom again. Oh, MySpace is just a music platform now. It is no longer a social media. Oh, this saddens me now. I want the old MySpace. But okay, y'all. I just want the old MySpace. But like, yeah, this is MySpace. I'm just sorry. We're getting great tweets out of this. Does anyone remember MySpace and disagree when I say this is just recreating that? That's just, I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. Let's keep going. Design system interoperability, or no. Why did I read interoperability when that's not the word very, very clearly? Okay. Design system integration. CSS variables fit well into design systems, which are like big collections of design choices. By choosing names for good variables like color brand, it's easier to make sure that everything matches up. I love this. This is great. CSS is awesome. CSS variables can also make websites more interactive and fun. They can be used to change styles on the fly. I've seen this happen. This is what dark mode is. Right now, most web browsers support CSS variables, but not all of them. As we move into 24, we can expect better tools to make sure they work everywhere, even in older browsers. So what we're seeing is we're just getting more. What don't I know, Mr. Bryce Snyder? Theming with CSS variables are goals using custom properties to store and reuse design values. You can easily change the look of a website by adjusting variables, providing benefits like consistency, real-time updates, and ease of maintenance. Yes. File-based theme swapping organizes themes into separate files, linked and switch dynamic using JavaScript. Correct. This is better. I agree with you. CSS variables can be imported locally through CDNs, NPM, cloud storage, preprocessors, or dynamically via JavaScript. Neat. Best practices include consistent variable names, avoiding direct overrides, including fallback values, using specificity, and avoiding inline styles. Okay. I like this. Key benefits include consistent across applications, real-time updates, relative re-rendering, rapid prototype. Yep, all of this makes sense. CSS variables can also be used for responsive typography and calculations. Overall, CSS variable theming is powerful and flexible. I agree. Clickbait. But true. You got me to click, sir. You win. I lose. So body background color is variable main color. Yep. I like that. Changing the theme. So that's our root color. You could do file thing where each one less good. Ships less job. I mean, okay. I say less good, but that's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's less good because what you're doing is you are forcing them to download two different things, but you are effectively shipping less code to their system overall. So like, okay, fine, not the end of the world. And I guess he's explaining how light and dark mode is working, but let's say you didn't want to do that. Do you explain that? So light dark did that. Override directly root. So root, this is not recommended. Avoid doing this later in the same style. This makes sense to me. Include fallbacks. Okay. Use specificity instead of direct reassignment. Body, main color, main. So where is the version where I just change it in line? You said I could do that, and then you didn't show me how to do it. I'm a little sad by that, sir. Like, you show me how to do it all with JavaScript. I'm a little sad by this. I've seen this code, how to do this properly somewhere, but it's not there. I don't think she's here today, but good old Jessica Wilkins wrote something on this, I think. Here it is. I'm going to give... Why is it on... Oh, Dev2 just has the better... Interesting. Sorry, y'all. I just need to, like, grab this real quick and side message somebody about it. Because I just need to side message somebody about it. Because that's the conversation I've been having. It is our canonical link. Yeah, so this is just interesting. SEO conversation here, just to explain. Dev2, which is not the primary source of this, is the #1 Google search result, whereas this is the canonical source of it. But somehow we're ranked lower, and I'm actually very genuinely curious about that. Conversation I'll have with other people, but so Jessica did this, I think, and this is the part I'm trying to kind of follow. So explaining, she has this dark mode variable that's just being set inside of state. Great. And it's just kind of a global control variable, right? And what she did, and I swear I saw her do this. So, okay, yeah, we're getting close here. This is great music because I'm like really vibing to. Oh, she did this with Sass, so it was a little different. Oh, wait, but no, here's the CSS variable. So, dark mode included a bunch of styles. Light mode included a bunch of styles. And then she imported the thing. Okay, following. We got to import. And then we pull in background color. Yeah, all good. And if we wanted the light theme instead, we could pull that. And that would pull those colors instead. Huh. Let's look for just light dark mode with CSS variables, because I think this is ultimate. Like, we could do this. I kind of want, you know what? We might just implement this. It's actually what I want to do. So, yeah, here it is. So you create variables that way. And then you can just set data theme on your body and be done. I'm like 90% sure I just said this correctly. So if we look, So they have where I feel like we're missing some HTML here. But CSS is, they have their root properties. They have the data theme is set to dark, right? So data theme dark has to be set. Document element, set attribute, data theme dark. Right. I would show this on my website, but I use Tailwind, and that's cheat mode of this. So I'm trying to figure out what is it. Okay, this means we are referencing a data attribute called data theme. Dark, we'll find use of it in a while. Then we can reference the okay. Here, let's play a game. Let us play a game. We're going to borrow both of these because why not? We're going to delete all these colors for a sec. Because we don't need these anymore. Okay. We'll do something with this color in a sec, but we're just going to do, let's do like, we're just going to do background color for now because that's actually all I care about, right? And so we're just going to do 2 of these, and we're going to keep it super simple for now. We're just going to do BG color because I don't want to like hyper focus on like getting this just right. So on light mode, we're going to want this to be like pink, right? And then on purple could be our dark mode. So then what we could do here, and I'm hoping hot pink. I'm hoping this is light pink or whatever, or even light red. Maybe light red. Let's see if my memory serves me right here. So pretty sure light red is a color. No? Well, light blue's good. We can make it light blue. Light blue thing. Okay, so if I refresh our page here, so now we're using our CSS variable and it is light blue. And if we come, and this could be cool. So if we do data theme equals dark on this element right here, right? Which this isn't how you would do it. But if we did that, nothing. Absolutely nothing. But then if I went here and I did this, boom, it's dark mode. But then if I copy and paste this whole thing and I get rid of the dark, you have a dark mode and a light mode right next to each other. And that's kind of cool. And that's also like, you can write 3 lines of JavaScript, 4 lines, 5 lines, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you can just like keep converting these back and forth. So like CSS variables, very cool. I agree. We're going to keep reading though. So let's keep going through this. Subgrid, making CSS grid layouts even more powerful. What is subgrid? When you add a grid to a grid container, only the direct children become grid items and can then be placed on the grid you created. Yep. You can nest grids by making a grid item a grid container. These grids, however, are independent of the parent grid and each other, meaning that you do not take their track sizing from the parent. This makes it difficult to line nested grid items up with the main grid. I love this already. I'm not going to do this because the setup's just going to take me too long. But like, that's awesome. I've actually fought this before. You want effectively to just like put a table or like a table grid, whatever. You want to put a grid in a grid and you just want it to work. But instead of like making the parent grid do a thing, you're making the child grid do the thing. I'm actually curious. Can you do this with Tailwind? Aha, he added it. Of course he added it. Use the grid column subgrid utility to adopt the column track defined by the items parent. So he did in here, it's through 5, so this is just the standard. But then for the 6th element, he just did another grid that has columns and then made the whole thing span 3, so it would have the space to do its own subgridding. That's neat. Okay, so Adam, great job. You thought about it. I'm impressed. This is indeed a cool feature. Like, think like calendar. Like, okay, actually, here's the case I would consider this for. Think of a calendar. Actually, let's go build it. Screw it. I said I wasn't going to do it. I'm doing it. All right. This is going to be a calendar, right? And a calendar has days, right? And so you're just going to have a day, right? And it's actually going to be interesting. So it's like, this is your day header. Oh man, this is going to get interesting. I'm going to try to remember how to write the CSS for this. Okay, so what we're going to have here, so this is Sunday, and then we're going to do this. This will be Monday. Actually, these could just be days. They don't even need to, well, we're going to call it a header, and you'll see why in a minute, but finish the days of the week like this. I just don't want to type it. So we're going to make Copilot do its job. And, you know, it's not perfect by any standard, but you know what? That was pretty damn close, Copilot. You almost did everything I wanted. So you win, sir. Madam thing. You win, Copilot, period. All right, so we've got our days of the week. So this is just like our this is just going to be our column headers. And then from here, like, Copilot sees exactly where I'm going with this. So I'm writing a pseudo perfect calendar in this. Let's just modify, expand this out to 30 days. Because I just don't want to write this. That looks right. Cool. So don't worry about how many days it is, because all that, but like, okay, here's our calendar, right? Looks absolutely awful because I didn't make this a grid or anything. Now you might say, oh, we'll build this with a table. This is actually a perfect case for a table. Well, yeah, but it's also a perfect case for a grid. So that's kind of what we're going to do here in a second. So I just got to remember how to write grids correctly. So let's try it. So if we go to our grid here, our grid here is actually our calendar feature. Grid template is going to repeat 7 times one frame. And our grid row, that seems reasonable to me. And okay, maybe we need to go to 5 just because we did 30 days. And I'm guessing our blocks are, yeah, so everything, like, look at that. Everything looks really good. You can see all of our squares, except for the last one. Oh, because it's actually, okay. Sometimes you just got to say 10. Oh, or you just got to figure out how many are actually going to be in it dynamically and write the style that way. So calendar consistently, we've seen calendars. They usually do what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've added the headers. So 6 is always going to be your number on like a proper calendar thing, right? So here, we've already laid out our calendar in like 30 seconds. We could write this in JavaScript with React, but I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. So, okay. So what we're seeing here is we have all of these really super duper amazing grids. And now what we want to do is, I think this did a subgrid and a subgrid when it was doing its example. So there's an item and the item has a sub-item. And I don't think we need all of that. I think we were able to do all of it with just this piece. So I'm trying to find the simplest subgrid. I place item from columns lines 2 to 7 and rows 2 to 4. Then I make this grid item into a grid, giving it column tracks that are a subgrid and defining rows as normal. Okay. So think Google Calendar for a second. Like, there's just a stack here, which is actually a grid. As you expand out into like different viewports, like you might make the grid go a different direction, or you might just say, hey, I need a vertical grid. So like, I'm going to rename this to day, and that's just going to mess everything up. That's what I thought. So, okay, we're going to do one more quick thing here though. So header, we're just going to make the font weight like 900 because I just wanted to do that for the fun of it. Like, super easy to do. Okay, so let's talk about a day here. A day is going to be a grid. And I don't know if that's going to change anything immediately. But if we say it's actually only going to be one. We're only ever going to do one because this is a vertical grid, right? And then grid templates row is, let's say maximum events that we can show on a day, 6, maybe 5. Looks like 5 was a happier number. Yeah, 5's a happier number. Okay. So we've just grid. Oh, no. So no, what we want here is this is a subgrid. And then what does that do? Okay, so this is now the subgrid, so I don't have to do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create an event. An event is just going to be, okay, this is trying to guess what I want. Let's see if it's right. So let's say on the 2nd of the month, right? And you can imagine what this would look like in some React code, but let's just say we have a event on day 1. What does that do? Not what I wanted. Not at all what I wanted. So we really wanted the 2. Oh, this is neat though. Look at this. So you have your days now, and now you can see like, hey, all of our things are right where we want them to be. So we've got our sectionals. So I want this to be row 2 of 6, maybe? Yeah. All right. And then we don't actually care about the column piece because it could be a full thing. And then, you know, give it a background color here of like, let's say light green. Oh, no. We apparently, we don't want this to go from 2 to 6. We just want this to go 2. So we'd have to dynamically set this now. But like, here, we're just going to do like 4 events on the same day, right? So like they're just laid on top of each other now. So that's not actually what we want. But we do want this subgridding like we did. So what we really want it to do is we want it to be dynamic from 2 to 6. But we really, and I'm not sure what the right way to do this is. So let's go read more on subgrids because there might be like, I don't want it in both. No implicit grid and subgridded. I just want it. Yeah, they're starting to develop the same idea that I just kind of suggested. What we really want is I wonder if I just get rid of the grid row, what happens? Oh, that's all that needed to happen. Well, there you go. So now they all show up exactly the way I wanted because that's the default behavior. And, you know, if I add, you know, let's add event 5, right? It's going to grow the table. So maybe it's like there's a, I don't know, can I do display overflow hidden? No, it doesn't respect that. What happens if I say it's only 4 rows? No? Doesn't respect that? Okay. Well, that was interesting. I think this would be like a fun little exercise. And like, okay, you have 5 events. How do you not hide it? And then, you can also play this game of like, you want gap 0, 10, I think, something like that. Or I guess it's just, I don't want that much gap. That's right. I want a row gap of not even this much. It's like 2 pixels, right? Because you want to see just enough to see that they're different. And then all of a sudden, like with the event, you can just do like border radius is 5. All of a sudden you get like these nice looking things, and then, add some padding. I don't know. Let's say it's 5 by 2 or whatever. Was 5 the wrong direction? 5 was the wrong direction. I always get it backwards. So like, okay, I'm using some heathenistic numbers here, but like you can see like, hey, that looks like a nice thing. And then all of a sudden we can start putting drag and drop and everything. And like, because we're in a grid situation, we have targets, and then heck, we can use our container queries at this point to figure out like how big the font should be, what should be showing, should we do ellipses? Like, there's so much cool stuff you could do. Like, you could build a really freaking neat calendar using this. Yeah, that's just cool. I wasn't thinking we were going to build that, but you know what? Here we are. This is really what I wanted to spend time on today. I also want to look at this if it actually works, because I like it. Also, I want to see what this is, because I actually didn't notice that before. Okay, CSS has. People talk about this, and I don't know what it is, but I do. So, what we got? Okay, has. The function has CSS pseudo property represents an element if any of the relative selectors that are passed as an argument match at least one element would anchored against this element. This pseudo class presents a way of selecting a parent element or a previous sibling element with respect to a reference element by taking a relative selector list as an argument. So selects an H1 heading with a paragraph element that immediately follows the H1 and applies the style to the H1. Oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. I'm actually going to borrow this. I'm totally going to borrow this, and we're totally going to just paste that, because that's the exact example that popped in my head. Go use CSS. I mean, we're just going to paste and then talk about it, because I think that's the best move here. So if I refresh our thing, we might need to delete some stuff. Or, you know what, class, or we're just going to give this like a big old like 8 rem. Except I just want a margin top. Okay. Sorry, we're just going to kind of push this around just so we see it. So like we have the morning times with some lorem ipsum, and the morning times delivering you news every morning, more lorem ipsum, right? And I don't even like what they gave me. So why is that H2 so big? There's literally no reason that an H2 should ever be larger than an H1, and I'm trying to understand why. Font size of 1.5. Font size of... What? Well, that's an interesting choice, WebKit. That's a choice what we're just going to not agree with real quick. I was like, what is happening? I'm sorry. I was just like, why is this happening? Okay. That was weird. WebKit, what the hell? So what this is doing is it's changing default behaviors. So I think what we're really trying to do here is we're just trying to say, okay, standard H1s and H2s should have one rim of padding, right? Because that just kind of makes sense. Like, I want about a rim right here between this and that, and then I can write some text. Cool. But if instead we're in a situation where the H1 is followed by an H2, then this is lowering it to just half or quarter of a rim, right? So like if we go look at that, you could see that it only has, oh, I see. It was a reset followed by this. That makes sense. Okay. CSS resets, you got to remember to do them. Not necessarily my specialty. Okay, so in this case, they're saying, hey, if an H2 follows an H1, I want you to lower the padding. I think that's okay. I would personally increase the padding, I think. Or, in this case, oh, I'm actually curious. Can you do a preceding selector? I wonder if they have that. What is the is pseudo selector? I kind of need to read up on this. There it is. So the is pseudo takes the selector list as its arguments and selects any element that can be selected by one of the selectors. So like, is an OL or UL menu supported? Or is the menu unsupported? And it is an OL or UL, color it green. Is it an OL or UL? Is it OL or UL? Or OL? Lower Greek, color chocolate. What? Function takes the selector list as its arguments and selects any element that can be selected by one of the selectors in that list. This is useful for writing large selectors in a more compact form. Note, originally named matches and any, this selector was renamed to is in, okay. The difference between the two is that is counts towards the specificity of the overall selector, whereas where has a specificity value of 0. Specification defines is and where as accepting forgiving selector. In CSS, when you use a selector, if any of the selectors are invalid, then the whole list is deemed invalid. Okay. Simplifying list selectors. Anybody know how to like keep YouTube from like shutting off my music? I'll take recommendations. So like 3 or more deep. Yeah. So like, oh, okay. Fuck. Bless you, MDN. I was like, I don't understand what is does, but no, it's sets. It's saying if the first thing matches this set, the second thing matches this set, the third thing matches this set, do the thing. Oh, I love that. That's sometimes I just kind of want to go back to my roots of writing CSS all day. That's okay. This is cool. That's just cool. Like, I didn't understand what it was doing for a second. I'm trying to understand this unsupported term, like menu unsupported. Like I don't see menu here. So what is if I could actually type it. Okay. The incorrect or unsupported selector will be ignored and the others used. Okay. In this case, when the selector list, if any of the selectors are invalid, then the whole list is deemed invalid. When using is or where instead of the whole list of selectors being deemed invalid, if one fails to parse, the incorrect or unsupported selector will be ignored and the others used. So we'll still parse correctly and match valid even in browsers which don't support unsupported, whereas valid unsupported will be ignored in browsers which don't start. Okay. I want more unsupported examples. But like this is great. So like yeah, so like I'm going to try and just like I'm going to just try to take all this. And I'm just going to try to write what I think the final selector is. So I think it's is H1. And that's going to be the last one. And then it's going to be is section, was it commas? Yeah, it was commas. So is section article aside nav. I want to say you put unsupported in here, but I'm not going to. So then section article aside nav. So you can just write is. So if it's this case, the font is 20. And then we get, and then it goes 25. And then it goes 30. And if I did it right, it should have been this. Okay. So using is, okay, so we shouldn't have done the is on the H1. I can't argue with that. It's pretty specific. But then is section article aside nav. Okay, so I didn't need the is on the H1s here. Okay, I can live with that. I'm learning, y'all. We're learning. You're here. You're with me. We're learning together. Okay, so like we got is. Both of these make sense. The H1 makes a total lot of sense. And then they did do the H3. Okay. So it's just like, cool. Now, I did it in reverse order because I was building it up, but I could have built it up the other way and it would have worked fine. That's neat. I like that a lot. I still don't understand unsupported, but okay. Can't do pseudo elements. Fine. I still don't understand how to do unsupported in here. Is unsupported its own pseudo selector? No. I mean, does this even need this? I mean, first off, let me just do this and then let's make it blue to make sure it worked. Okay, it's working in real time. So, but menu is unsupported. What does that mean? Unsupported with is CSS? Pseudo selector. Unsupported. Nope. Yeah, unsupported was a really terrible name. I don't know what it is. We'll still parse correct. Okay. In CSS, when using a selector list, if any of the selectors are invalid, then the whole list is deemed invalid. We're using is or where. Instead of the whole list selectors being invalid, if one fails to parse, the incorrect or unsupported selector will be ignored and the others used. Okay, let's try something different. If I get rid of the word unsupported, did anything change? Nothing changed. If I put menu 2, 3, 4, me, everything's still green. And it recompiles. So style analysis, pseudo selector class no unknown. I'm sure this is one of those like I'll have to figure out when I run into it. That's cool. I like that. So like is H100 that has any of that? Oh, that's really neat. Now the question is, can you use has with a parent? Probably not, but it was worth asking. So here, the has relational selector can be used to check if one of the multiple features is true or if all the features are true. By the comma separating values instead of has. Oh, so you could do multiple has things. If it has a thing, it has X or Y. Cool. The positive look in the regular expression is only matched with immediately followed. The analytics in CSS would be has selects the element ABC only if the next sibling is XYZ. The part ABC acts as a look ahead. Negative, similar for the look ahead case in regular expression, the string ABC is matched only if it is not followed by XYZ. The next is has not. Okay. Yeah. We're good on all that. Like CSS has parent as a parent selector. The answer is figure has a fig caption. Yeah, no, we're good with that. That all makes sense. If it has, okay, so really you can only do it from top down, not bottom up, I guess. Can you use CSS has to what's the word I'm looking for? To base on parent. Has to select. You can use the has CSS student to select a parent element. So like, what's their example? So if the button has an icon, but you can use the has CSS to select a parent element. Oh, okay. This might work. All right, let's try it. So let's try this. If the we're going to do something fancy. If H1 or H2 has, and if the parent has article, we're going to just make the margin bottom something like super extreme. Let's just narrow it to an H1 for a second. Okay, let's do article. Let's try with a CSS class. We'll just call it test, right? Because we don't care that much. So the answer is no. This is impossible. So wait, what? You want to select the parent of an element to style it. You want to select. For example, you may have the following two buttons. You want to add extra padding to the button that has an icon. You need to select the parent button of the span with a class of icon. So the has takes a selector or lists of selectors of an argument and add the has pseudo to an element to select it only if it contains an element that matches the path. So, right, okay. So this is solving this problem by saying, no, don't try to look up, always look down. Okay. Don't look up. Terrible movie, by the way. If you ever watched it, I mean, okay, it's not a terrible movie. It's a very, very well-made movie. But man, I hated it. I cringed at everything from beginning to end. It just was not a movie for me. If you enjoyed that movie, good on you. Just not for me. I will not watch it again. Okay. So, cascade layers. Layers CSS. Cascade layers. So, an idea of how CSS works. Yep. Review of the concepts, relevance, origin, cascade, user agent in the browser. Yes, origin, specificity. So, I'd like to see an example. The layer statement at rule for named layers. The order of layer is set by the order in which a layer appears in your CSS. Declaring layers using layer followed by. So the layer is used to declare a cascade layer and to define the order of precedence where there are multiple cascade layers. So you make a layout layer where main's a grid. Creates a second layer, unnamed anonymous layer, makes body with margin 0. Creates third and fourth layouts named theme and utilities. Theme. Okay. Add styles to the already existing layout layer. Up here. Creates the fifth and unnamed anonymous layer. Okay. So layers aren't what I think they are. Okay. What I was hoping this was saying. So this is a Sass feature, but I was hoping it would be like, hey, if I have a P tag in here, make it red. Or in this case, article. P tag, red. Like, I was hoping this is what I was going to get out of it. And what you're telling me is, oh, whoa, I was not expecting that to work. Well, apparently that does work now in CSS, and that makes me a happy human. That's actually what I was hoping it was trying to tell me. What is a CSS layer, though? MDM's not going to be my best friend of this. So, establish a layer order up front from lowest to highest priority. So here are your layers, name them. And then you set where you want these layers. And then an unlayered, okay, what is the problem? Specificity conflicts escalate. Yes, many of us have been in a situation where we want to override styles from us when we're in code. Yeah, I don't want to ever write important ever again. Single class, other selectors, rather than putting, okay. Managing cascade conflicts and selector CSS has gotten really good I get why people are like, oh, don't use Tailwind, use CSS. I also get why people say use Tailwind and not CSS. Like, controversial. Tailwind is just trying to encapsulate as much of this into your CSS as possible so you don't have to think about it. And that's okay. I'm not going to turn that into a short. Not worth it. I just don't want the flame war. I just don't. Because there's also just not full truths to that. Managing cascade templates and selectors has often been considered one of the harder, at least more confusing aspects of CSS. That may be partly because few other languages rely on cascade as their central feature. Yep, we're good with this. So in this case, so kind of coming back to this, we have these layers and then there's rules in those layers, okay? Cascade layers provide control. So like, here's this overly powerful maroon. And then here's my single class that is Rebecca Purple. I like it. Using the layer at rule and layered imports, we can establish our own layers of cascade. This is the defaults. So we're, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So this is making sense to me now, and I'm okay with this now. I have to draw this out. This is a drawing moment. So let's draw this. So here's what's happening. I don't know where stuff is. Okay. So here's what's happening. You have some CSS here, right? You probably are calling this like, this is your reset layer, right? And this layer, okay, here's your box. This is your layer. Your layer, you're setting some rules, right? And then you have another layer within that. So I'm going to restart this. Totally going to restart this because this is going to be great. Okay. So to explain how this works, layers kind of work like this. You have layers inside of layers inside of layers, which is a little gross to think like. The way CSS has always worked is it always goes from the most specific to the least specific, right? So what this is doing, at least trying to do, is this is trying to tell where all of your CSS lives. So when I just want to like write something that could be overridden by anything, it goes in this layer here. When I want to set some reasonable defaults that can also more than likely be overridden, I put them here. So what would happen is the rules inside a default base overtake what's in reset. And then, so if I wrote, let's actually write this out now. So if I wrote something to the effect of at layer reset, right? And I said paragraphs should always have, man, I'm going to go back to code for a second because this is going to be gross otherwise. Okay. So what I'm saying is in my reset layer, okay, my p tags should always have a font size of 16 pixels, one rem, right? And then what I'm saying is inside of my base layer, whatever you want to call it, I actually want the font size by default to be 18 pixels. That is my new reasonable default. That is what I've decided for my app, what I want to do. I reset the system, and then I overrode it again with what I want my app to be. And what's cool about this is you can make this a CSS variable. And this is the base for everything else to come. Because think about accessibility. Think about your mother. Think about your father. Think about your grandmother. Think about your grandfather. They don't see so well sometimes. And they're like, how do I make this bigger? And you're like, Well, you just up the font, right? Or go into the settings of the app and change it. Problematic thing about just, upping sizes like that is sometimes there's other variables and things that don't adjust well. So like here, let's just play with Excalibur. Like I'm doing plus minus, and of course it captured it. So let's go to Twitter. Let's make fun of Twitter for a minute. So like here's me doing minus. Like it gets real small real quick. Let me do plus stuff. See how that doesn't look very good as you just like command plus N, and like all of a sudden features are missing, or it's at the bottom and like things are just kind of weird and you're like, I'm not really sure how I want to mess with this. Yeah, that's okay. So instead of doing that, what you're trying to do, you're trying to go into like the base here, and you're just trying to say, hey, I did it wrong, but like font size across the board, I want that to be 18 pixels. That's my base font size now for the entire body, or 24 pixels, right? And you would have expected things to change, but it looks like Twitter didn't do a thing that, and maybe that's a good thing and good for them. Could also be how the site's implemented. I don't really know, but like if this was all done by Rim and I just did what I just did there, I mean, arguably I could do it here as well. Like here's the element. Let's just make the font size, again, 24 pixels. Okay, that kind of sucks. I was hoping that would work. Didn't work. But what you're doing is you're effectively saying, hey, here's the least, and you should also do what they said, which is set your layers. Okay, so these are my layers, and this defines the specificity of them. So least specific, more specific, most specific. So if I'm in the layer called components, and I decide to make a paragraph, I'm actually going to call it paragraph, and I want its font size to be 24, right? If I go to my component here now, I refresh all this, everything's now 18 pixels because I said for my base layer here, p tags would be 18 pixels. So if I go inspect this, it is now 18 pixels. But if I were to say, hey, paragraph, I actually want you to be a paragraph. Now it's 24 pixels. And all this because I set my layers. So set your layers. It's a good choice. I like this. I'm sure there's a lot of good best practices around this. And I already love this concept and I've only been playing with it for 30 seconds. More than that, but you know what I'm saying. So layers are cool. Has and is are cool. CSS has gotten really, really cool. I'm going to look at this focus as visible thing real quick, and then we're going to move on. This applies an element that matches the focus pseudo class determined via heuristics, okay? So this feels like an accessibility thing. I like accessibility things, and I love what I'm seeing right now. So this is saying when the input is focused. So the input's not focused, right? Because I just took it off. Now I need to get back to it. So it's saying when this is focused, which was a thing, make the outline of it 2, make it solid and make it crimson, and give it a border radius. And then here, saying do the same but make it dashed. This selector is useful to provide a different focus indicator based on the user's input modality, mouse versus keyboard. I'm curious how... This is my next question. I was wondering, focus versus focus visible. What's the difference? Originally, user agent CSS set focus styles based on only the focus pseudo class, styling most focused elements with a single focus ring outline. Yes. That's a good thing. That's accessibility. We like accessibility. But this meant all elements, including all links and buttons, had a focus ring applied when focused, which many people found ugly. I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care that you found it ugly. It's true. They weren't pretty, but they're accessible. All right, let's just keep going. Let's read the rest of this. Because of the appearance, some authors removed the user agent outline focus styles. Yeah. Changing focus style can decrease usability, while removing focus styles makes keyboard navigation inaccessible for sighted users. 100% true. Don't do this. I'm very annoyed that people do this still, but let's keep reading. Browsers no longer visibly indicate focus, such as by drawing a focus ring around each element when it What? You say what? What? Hold, please. Yes. 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 Good enough. That's just not true. That is literally just not true. That I just proved you wrong. I literally just proved you wrong. Focus rings. Focus rings. I'm missing something. Who did it? Who? Okay, second of all, that's why. Safari. Really? Really, Safari? Okay, well, Safari just messed up their tabbing altogether. That is awful. We're going to keep going for a second because I just need to be proven something here. Firefox. Firefox. You both failed me. You just both. I'm very upset with you right now. I'm very upset with you right now. Why would you do that to people? That's just not okay. Chrome, you passed the test. Not well, but you passed the test. This made me very angry, everyone, and I am sorry. This made me very, very, very angry. We are going to be having words. Okay. This is not true. However, we just learned that other things are very true and not great. This is bad. This is very bad. Instead, they provide a variety of heuristics to provide focus indicators only when it would be most helpful to the user. For instance, when a button is clicked using a pointing device, the focus is generally not visually indicated, but when a text box needing user input has focus, focus is indicated. While focus styles are always required when users are navigating the page or focus styles are not required when the user knows where they're putting focus, such as when... I'm sorry, are you telling me that when I was doing this, I should have... I have to click to do it, so it's not on hover. Back to the paragraph, please. For instance, when a button is clicked using a pointing device, the focus is generally not visually indicated. That is true. That is now very true. So what you're saying is if I go and I say input, type is submit, then I do focus visible, and I do a outline to pixel, and it's going to be blue. Did I actually put a form action on that? If so, I apologize to this demo. Nope. I just don't want it to do anything for a second. Okay, got my box. I'm happy with that. If I go focus visible, I still get my box. A keyboard statement feeling like a hunk of garbage real quick, but okay. While focus styles are always required when users are navigating the page with the keyboard, or when focus styles are not required when the user knows when they are putting, such as when they use a pointing device, such as, oh, are they saying that when I did this? Well, no. Oh, okay. I misread that. They're saying the inverse of what I was trying to do. Such device such as there's a mouse or finger to physically set on a focus unless the element continues to need their attention. Okay. The focus always matches the currently focused element. The focus visible pseudo also matches the focus element, but only if the user needs to be informed when the focus. Because the focus visible pseudo class matches the focused element. I don't dislike this. So they're just saying, hey, look, we know you think focus is ugly. We heard that you think focus is ugly. Fine, you can think focus is ugly, but we're going to make you have focus visible so for the people that actually need it can have the ugly thing, because the ugly thing is not your choice in deciding whether or not it's important for them. I like this. This makes me happy. I want to hear from my accessibility friends whether or not that's actually okay. But I'm less angry now. I was very angry when we started this. I don't know why I can't get in this box. This is, oh. But I tab, what? I'm so confused. Button with fallback, button without fallback. Supports not focus with fallback. Oh, okay. So if we need to, if we don't have focus visible, still put the focus. Yeah, that's how you should play this game. I'm okay with this. Good. I'm actually glad we looked at this, everybody. Because A, we found a lie. This is not true. It's totally there. But we also learned Firefox and Safari do bad things. They don't let you, they're not accessible browsers. You should stop supporting Safari. You should stop supporting Firefox until they fix that issue. Moving on with my life. Very happy with all this. Very, very happy. I think we got some replies. All right. Simone says, if I'm not wrong, I heard a Syntax SM podcast where they mentioned that the color codes that we use just offer 64 million colors, but the new codes, the one you shared, will offer a larger set. Not sure why we need more than 64 million colors. LOL. You know, that's a great answer. That's everything I'm looking for in a single answer. Thank you, Mr. SC, also known as Mr. Simone. I work with that guy. He's a nice man. I really respect him. He's thoughtful and intentional, and that's all you hope your coworkers are. All right, this is where I wanted to go. Somebody shared this on LinkedIn, and I really wanted to play with this because I love... So, if you don't know this about me, I'm a music major. I was also a computer science major. We're not going to ignore that fact. But I have a music degree, and I love music. I'm very impressed with this soundtrack, for instance. I think it's like conveys all the things that you want. I don't know how the Heartbound team put it together, but they did a fantastic job. So I'm very, very, very happy about this very specific post because I agree with this. Like the number of times I've tried to look at music notation on PDFs and then like do Zoom and stuff, it's just not good. Like I just want it to be on a responsive web page. It would also make it so I can like, so I don't know if you've ever tried to write music, but you have to get these very expensive and hard to use music notation softwares, Sibelius and Finale, right? I don't know why this person did this, but this is really awesome because now all of a sudden we could rewrite those really complicated pieces of software into the browser. I mean, between Ken Wheeler's MIDI work and this, you're 9/10 of the way there. And that's really awesome. So I actually don't know what Cruncher is. I thought Cruncher was this person's blog. Oh, there's just a company. Okay. Shortly after making that, I was busy adopting Grid into our project Cruncher when something about it struck me as familiar. I wonder if it might be possible not to answer some of the layout problems I've been having in Scribe. This makes sense. The class Stave. Wow, that is amazingly gross. And I like this. So hear me out on... I'm going to explain music notation for those that don't actually know music notation. So let me see if I can open her, there, Steven. I'm going to assume a he. I'm sorry if I assumed your gender. Okay, so you have a stave that is being applied to a div. You get this. And actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and we're going to literally delete everything we've worked on today because we don't need it. We just don't. It was cool. We have it. We can go watch the recording later. So now we have a div class called Stave. And if we go to our document, it should have printed. Why? I don't know. Class is Stave. I'm going to just write the word test to make sure I'm not absolutely crazy. Okay. That should be there. So then grid. I don't have the SVG. That's what it is. Aha. Okay. But this is helpful. So let's explain music for a second and thank this person for actually giving us staves. Now, they made their naming based off of something called a treble clef. That's this thing. There's also a bass clef, right? And bass clef is, and actually sounds like the thing I just said, Scribe. I'm curious, Scribe music tool. Transcribe. I would like to see if, man, I wish they'd linked Scribe. I want to see it. I'm going to reach out. But to explain, they did a thing. They're using this all based off of treble clef. There's something called a bass clef, though. So their naming convention's a little off, but it's helpful because what they've done is they've named each of the lines in their grid. And actually not even just the lines, but the spaces too. So, and why is this important? It's important because that's how musical notation works. So each line or space denotes a different note in a scale. For those that don't know music, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. There's also some sharps and flats. I'm going to ignore that conversation for just a minute because you don't need to understand that to follow the rest of this. So we've got the letters, and now they repeat as well. So you go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Those are then notated with 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, all the way up to 9, I think. I think the lowest note I've ever heard of is like a C1, and the highest note I've ever heard of is like a C8. But I'm sure there are other notes. I just don't know if they're audible to the human ear. Anyway, so the way you read a staff, so this is exactly how our friend has kind of written it here. But just to read this, and you're like, wait, but they went more spaces off the staff. Well, remember I just said it goes from like 2 to 9 or 1 to 9. Well, there's your 1 through 9. So the staff starts in the middle of the range. So I'm trying to remember what the rule of a treble clef is. There used to be a rule about like the placement of something. I think it's the finish of the loop in the thing. Oh, no, that's what it is. It's the circle part right here, the circular piece. That's the line in the center of that. That's a G. That's what it is. Treble, you got the thing, it's a G. The other one's like a bass clef, and then there's 2 dots, and the dots indicate which line is, I think, I want to say it's F, but it might be C. It's been a while since I've read musical notation. Treble clef is also what I specialized in, so go for it. So like on a bass clef, I think this line right here is actually an F, but it's like F3 instead of F. Like, see how this is D5? It's F3, so indicating that these notes are just lower octave. So like, I don't have, like, you hear the bass line right now, like that would be bass clef, but then like the piano that you're hearing right now, that would be on the treble clef, just as an example. So the way you read this, so first line is E and then F, then the next line is G, A. So what they're trying to do here is just notate where all the, like, you have roughly 0.25 M per row, and in the middle of that row is a line if it has a line, which is kind of what's going on here. And they're indicating when the stave, or maybe this, they're just putting them in the background. They're not even drawing the lines. So that's cool. You could change this so they're just drawn with like a line or whatever. Anyway, so this is now making sense how this is coming about. So this would be just like a dash, but just a bunch of dashes in repeat until the end of perpetuity. Anyway, so what they're doing is they're saying like, hey, give a quarter M of space to each note from A5 at the top down to C4 at the bottom. And what's missing here is, even though this is the amount of space, this is the amount of standard space that is given on a clef system. Okay. And it's even more complicated than that because it gets really itty bitty like this, and there's notes that can go like forever off in both directions. I'm curious how they would deal with that, but this is cool. Okay. They've created a grid system for being able to generate where notes would go on like a background system. And I think that's just really neat. So now what they're saying, placing pitches on the stave. Any given row on a stave may contain any of the several pitches. The pitches G flat, G, G sharp must all sit on the G line stave, for example. So I kind of skipped flats and sharps, and now it's important to talk about them. There are 12 notes. If you think about a piano, all right. Actually, let's piano keys. So, and this is actually really helpful. So, as you can see, you have something called middle C here. That's this C. That's middle C. That's C4. And remember when I said there was a treble and a bass clef? Well, here's the treble. Here's the treble. Here's the bass. As you can see, treble starts on C and goes up. The bass clef, right? This is supposed to be a C. So these are the same C. So this is middle C on both. And then it just kind of goes down from there. So remember when I said, I'm pretty sure this line right here is F? Well, sure enough, I knew what I was talking about. Look at that. But kind of zooming in for, oh man, I just want to zoom in on the image. Open image, new tab maybe. Yeah, okay. Let's center this. So actually, let's take this a step further. Let's go to ExcalDraw for a sec. All right, so we've got our thing. So what's actually happening here is why is that gray? I don't want gray. I want black. I actually want a very thin, okay, whatever. So this is a sharp or a flat. Okay, so this is called, this one's a flat, this one's a sharp. Okay, and the way this works is if you're going up, it's sharp. If you're going down, it's flat. So this right here is known as C sharp and D flat. They're the same note. And so the 12 notes on a piano are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then it repeats. Okay? So this thing right here is the same as this thing right there, except that they sound lower. So I don't have perfect pitch, but here. I have a guitar. It's super out of tune. We're going to just do this. So you've got, so that's a C, and then, so those are C's. They're really out of tune, so I apologize. Also, I don't know if you can even hear this. So let's try again. So here are your C's. So here's a low C, and here's a high C. And if you have perfect pitch, I'm sorry that I just ruined your ears. But so these are both C, but this is like this C right here. And then this one is actually I think I'm spanning 2 octaves. Am I? C. No, okay, so this is middle C right here. So this is this C, and is this C, right? So the way to think about it is you have the same note repeated up and down. So, this turned into a music theory class. Enjoy. Okay, so what we're doing here is we have all the notes. We got all 12 notes. They repeat over and over and over again. That's why we have C1. So this one is C4 or middle C. This is C3, and this is C5. And that's how you read music. So there's kind of your music reading lesson, and then the sharp flat thing is this. So when I am trying to indicate, so in the article they're trying to talk about specifically this G right here, and talking about this and this key, right? So this key would be denoted down here as G with a flat symbol. Now you could also see, and there's a rule to this, so I'm about to go and actually follow the rules for a second. So typically you could draw flats here, right? So this is what they call F. Wait, is this F major? No, this is B flat major. Okay, so this is B flat major. The reason it's called B flat major is there is a flat on the B, and this is a major scale, okay, at that point. So what you can see here is this would be, when I hit this note, I press here. I don't press this one. I press this one. This is the good one, right? And the reason I do all that is to just follow the key signature. Now, G is one of the later flats, so I would have to draw 5 flats on this thing, and it's kind of obnoxious, so I'm not going to do that. But just know that if I need G flat here, right, I could just notate it like this. And when I do this, I'm talking about this note right here. Now, similarly, I need G sharp, right? Looks like a pound. It's talking about this one right here. Same idea, different structure. So when you go sharps, you start with, I think you start with C sharp. I think C sharp's the first sharp. So then you would do it like this, or you could write it like that. Either or, they both work. Same indication, same meaning. That's what this person's trying to indicate, though, is if I'm playing either of these notes right here, right? This one, or this one. So all three of these notes right here, all are indicated by this symbol in this place on the staff. So that's really cool. I like this. Neat. You're a cool person, Stephen Band. I want to be your friend because this is cool. Okay, so all the notes, they all sit on the G line. So to place the DOM elements that present those pitches in their correct rows, I'm going to put the pitch names in data pitch. Okay, and use CSS to map the data pitch values to the stave. So when the data pitch is G and the data pitch is 4, so G4, like I mentioned, right? He wants to place it on the grid row starting at 4. And then he did the same thing for all of the notes from 4s and 5s. I'm sure this file is much bigger and deals with way more complexity than this, but this is what you need to know for now. And that's enough to begin placing symbols on the stave. So he's got SVG symbols that we prepared for the scribe prototype. So let's try placing a couple. So here, what they wanted, oh, I love this. So I'm curious what the class had, and I'm curious about some of this. So like, here's your SVG. So the pitch is G4 and the pitch is E5. So that's G4, that's E5. I agree. This reads correctly. Cool. This is very, very, very neat. I'm curious what they're doing with the references and the head. I'm curious if that just means this is the position within the bar we're dealing with, which as you can see, we're literally about to read about. So the class bar and its beats. Rhythm is perhaps a little trickier to handle, right? Because, all right, let's go back to our diagram for a second and let's do some slightly coy. Oh, I don't want to delete that. No. That needs to stay. So let's just delete all this stuff for a second because I did bad and drew everywhere like a crazy person. Okay. So let's talk about time for a second. So 4/4, you'll see it kind of denoted like this, or the shorthand for it is just a C, which stands for common time. Okay. What a 4/4 says is there are 4 quarter notes per measure. Okay. Measures are denoted with these lines, right? So there's a line, there's a line, there's a line, there's a line. So 4 quarter notes. These are called quarter notes, for instance. Okay. And 4/4 is interesting because it's the easiest. It's the most common thing that you'll find. Every pop song you listen to is more than likely in 4/4 time. And I can help you find it if you're ever curious, but it's 4/4. So you're in this 4/4 common time. You got your 4 quarter notes here, right? And there's some time to it, okay? So like you might say a quarter note is this long. So every time I clap my hands, that's a quarter note. So you go da 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 da. Like that's a scale. That's how you could do it. That's the simplest version of this. Okay. And that's really, really cool, right? But then you can get into more interesting things. So and it's really, to kind of explain, it's saying how many beats per measure over how a beat should be divided. So you could have something like, and this might make more sense for this example. So let's say 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Okay, so this is really, we could write this as 5/4 time. Okay, and 5/4 time would say there's 5 quarter notes per measure. And if I did that, nope, I went to 4. Here's 5. So if you do it this way, there's 5 beats per measure, and then you could do that. You could do 3/4 time, which would result in something that works. Time gets complicated because I'm showing you the simplest, which is quarter note time. But there's other notes. So like a quarter note, so a beat, okay? These are beats. So that's my beat. I can divide this by any number. I could say there are 7 notes per this. I could say there are 100 notes per this beat. I could say there's 1 note per this beat, right? That's a beat. I could also say that a note should last longer than a single beat. So 2 beats, 3 beats. And that's what he's about to talk about a little bit. So like these are what we call whole notes. So in 4/4 time, this would take up the whole measure. So 4 beats. So literally what we're about to talk about. So rhythm is perhaps a little bit trickier. There's not one immediately obvious smallest rhythmic division to adopt that will support all kinds of rhythms. 100%. Like this is legitimately the most complicated part of music notation software. It's like, so I think the smallest unit of time I've ever seen is 128th note, which means not quite what it sounds like, but it's this idea that a note could take. So you have a quarter note. Quarter note takes up 1 beat. You have a eighth note. Eighth note divides it into 2 beats. 16th note, 4. And so its power is a 2 at this point. So whatever the power of 128 is, I think it's 6. Actually, let's see. That's 2 to the 5th. 6, is it 8? No. Okay, so it splits it 7 times. So a 128th note is you're kind of shooting for 7 notes in a single beat. So when I do this, you're hoping for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I can't even say it fast enough, but so like keep that. So it's like it's very fast, and musicians are impressive that can do it. A lot easier on a string than with my voice. A lot easier on a wind instrument when you've been practicing it for months and months and months. So this is a judgment call. I agree 100%. So a 24 column per beat approach supports beat divisions to evenly lay out eighth notes, 12 columns, 16 notes, 6 columns, 32nd notes, 3 columns, as well as triplet values of those notes. It's a good starting point. I couldn't agree more with him. I'm not going to explain what a triplet is because it's just another meter of time, but just know that most music's divisible in powers of 2, but we can also do powers of 3. And who said music wasn't mathematical? Okay, so here's him trying to define what a bar should look like. And the thing to kind of just note is bars need beginnings and ends. And so that's what he's done here. So he's created a grid template that says, hey, this is divided into 96 parts. And we can place a note at any of the 96 parts. And so one thing he did add here too is he added the stave bar. So this is the stave. This could have been a bass instead of a treble clef, but that's fine. So this all makes sense to me. So the one thing that's missing in this for me, reading this, is no, never mind. This makes sense. What he's saying is at position B4. So C4 is right here-ish. B4 is right there-ish. I'm eyeballing it because it's an eyeball thing to do without having the exact measures, but that's about B. So from the bottom of the treble clef in his SVG format should be in B4, and then it grows from there. It just depends on your treble clef. That makes sense. But yeah. So here's our inspection. So now we're getting like all our subdivisions and vertical divisions, like I was just talking about. This is so cool. I love this. Like I'd go work on this all day. This would be neat. Okay, so now they're going to do the beat attribute to assign elements a beat and CSS rules to map the beats to the grid column. So the CSS map looks like this with a rule for each of the 1/24th of a beat. Because that's what we said, 24 beats. Yeah. So his division, so there's 24 lines here and there's 4 sets of it for 96. That's cool. So beat one. I'm curious how he's getting these decimals. We'll actually, 1/24 is 04. Okay. This is probably just 24. Okay. He's just rounding errored all the way up. I like it. We're good with that. We can do rounding errors. Because that's fine. So that tells you where the beats are. You could probably programmatically write this as well. Except it's CSS, so he probably had to. I'm curious how he deals with this. So he's only dealing with one bar right now. Okay. Now I told you there are many bars. There's also many lines. So it's one of those things like he's gonna have to repeat this thing, not the before part, but like this piece right here several times over. So like these hard coded values respond to grids, but I'm curious how he's gonna figure out like which beat in which bar. It's a question I have. So put that together with our stave class, and we are able to position symbols by beat and pitch by setting a beat. So to a beat between 1 and 5, and a data pitch to a note name. As we do the beat, columns containing those symbols grow to accommodate them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I like this. So explaining, I understand what this means. So I'm gonna explain it. So stave and bar, that gives you the lines and it gives you the lines. He puts the clef because that shows you what we're dealing with. And then what's happening here is he's saying, okay, on beat 1, I want B flat. Okay. So here's the pitch. So it is a B, and he says, is it a head or is it a flat? And he decided to use a head to denote that there would be a note there. Notice there's no line. He's literally going to talk about that in a second. But like, here's your head, and then here's the flat note. I'm curious like how they're both sitting on beat 1 and how the CSS figured itself out, because now it's like trying to place two things in the same placement. This could just be the fact that he created the flat SVG in a way that just it's left offset and could be in front of a note, at which point this is probably good. I bet you there's going to be situations where we get like really close notes and this doesn't work anymore, but this is cool. So, B flat, that's totally a B, that's totally a flat. Then D4 on beat 2, that's totally like C. Remember, C4 is right here. That's middle C. This is D right above it. So cool. G5. So this is G4 right here. And it's because, and this is the weird part, even though it starts at A, C is actually considered the kind of like the cornerstone. So like C4, C5 starts here. So like, I think this is just A4 right here. So it's A4, B4, C5. Yeah, I'm right. I'll tell you why I'm right in just a second. It gets explained right here. So the way this gets explained, so we get the beat. So G5 is up here. So again, C5's here. So it's the G above C at that point. So here's the G. So just to explain, C, D, E, F, G. So that explains it. And then you get beat 4. He wants a rest. So rest just means don't do a note. So it's like, okay, so there's your beats. So it's like da, 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 da. That's the rhythm he's going for. So that's cool. And then he places it on B4 because it's centered on B4. Again, it's just based on how his SVGs were written. So B4, again, is right here. So that's B4, C5, B4, C5. So it's weird. C's are where the 4s, 5s get started. So here's your B4, here's your C5. Go with it. And then he's talking about stems, okay? And then he's talking about tails. And you're like, What are stems and tails? Stems and tails tell us what the type of note is. So this is a quarter note officially because it has a stem. And if we look at this, this is a quarter note, an eighth rest, an eighth note, an eighth rest, an eighth note, and a quarter rest. Do you don't have to know what all that means? Just know that I'll just kind of explain it. So again, kind of going with this. Da, da, or oh god, I'm gonna have trouble with this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da, da, da. That's what that was. Something like that. Syncopation. Have fun. But that's cool. He made it work. I actually think this is really cool. And now we're talking about fluent and responsive notation. Okay, so this is the next part I was worried about. Like, you need to have multiple bars. So stick a whole bunch of bars like these together in a Flexbox container that wraps, and we start to see responsive music. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's so cool. So he uses grid to make it work vertically and then flex to make it work all on the page. That's so cool. You're cool, dude. So this is what I was worried about. So now you have like I could grab a guitar out and play this, but I'm not musically literate right now. So like go up, go down the scale, and now you have things. Also, I'm actually curious. Are these images or are the oh my god, I love it. Look at that. Look at that. I love it. Oh, pardon me everybody. I gotta take medicine. Gotta take some medicine. Gotta take care of myself. Alright. More water helps. So this is cool. So you can actually see like this is actually the thing working. So I love that because if I start, screwing with how big the page is, right? So like I just made the page smaller. You could see it's like it's dealing with the fact that I'm taking away page from it. And it's pushing it to the next line. That's so cool, man. That's so cool. All right, let's talk about the space between notes. There are clearly a bunch of things that are missing from this, but this is a great base to start from. I agree. Okay, the space between the notes. Ignoring these beams for a moment, notice that the note heads that occur closer in time to one another are rendered slightly closer together. So this is the thing I was talking about earlier with like all the beats and stuff. So like quarter, 8, 8, 16. So see it doubles the amount of notes, it quadruples. So it's a subtle, deliberate, effective effect created by the small column gap, which serves as a sort of time ether into which symbols elements slot. Columns themselves are zero width unless there is a note head in them. But there are more column gaps, 24 per beat, between events that are further apart in beats and so more distant. So if we look at this, because again, this is actually the thing at work, which is so cool. So if you look at it, there's a lot of dead space on the left, and you see it just narrows and narrows as you go to the right. And this is because he chose the 24 as kind of his baseline. So so you can keep like messing with margins on these things to get it looking, half decent. So I'm guessing what he did here is he's like, hey, these were just too close. Can I put more margin on the thing? And sure enough, there's your 15 pixels of margin to like create the needed space to make these not feel grossly close to each other. And it all plays nice because I agree, it looks bad. Like, okay, you might be like, why does he say that looks, just trust me, as a musician, that looks terrible. But this is cool because we're having some nice control over how to display these things to make it not awful and the CSS isn't messing with the grid, and that's good. So class and time sectors. You may be wondering why I employed separate classes for vertical and horizontal spacing. Why not just one? Separating the axes means that only one can be swapped out without the other. Take the melody. So this is 4/4 time. So quarter note, and this is a dotted quarter. So this takes up a beat and a half. So this is 2 beats, 3 beat, 4 beat, 1 beat, 2 beat, 3 beat, 4 beat. Okay. To display the same melody on a bass clef. Hey, I talked about this earlier. Bass clef. Swapped out for a bass staff. The class maps the same data pitch attributes to the bass staff. So yeah. So like, yeah, this is exactly what it would have to be. So the numbers are the same, except that the verticality here. So going all the way back up to here, where it's like, this is gonna be interesting. I'm guessing he actually calls this treble stave versus bass stave, and that way these things are mapped appropriately to this image. Let's see what he actually says as I get there. I'm just trying to guess. This is cool though. I think this is just absolutely freaking fascinating. So to display this as a bass class, the stave class can be swapped out for the bass stave class. Okay, so he just kept it a stave and then bass stave. He should do a treble stave, a bass stave, because there's also something called a C stave. And then there's also an alto stave. It gets complicated quickly. Welcome to music. But there's a bunch of different stave classes that he should be able to do, and now he can just, because, and this is the genius of what he did, and I really like this, is because he kept the vertical and the horizontal features of the grid separate and how they were defined. He's now able to quickly decide like switch out the things to make different classes and staves work, and because the underlying data maps the same way, it's fine. And this is also going to be interesting because, so remember the 24 thing from earlier? So the 24 thing, well, let's go to that now. Where is it? This was the placement. This is the bar. Okay. So the math here was 4 by 24 by 6. Well, the example he's about to give is 5 by 24, which is 120 grid columns, right? Because we need to be able to make bars shorter or longer. So remember I said there was 5/4, there's 3/4. Well, he assumed 4/4 as we started. I'm trying to get back to where we were. Okay, here we are. So now, like, he can change the duration here, and now it's a multiplier to turn it into 120 sectionals across the board, and now you get notes going up and down the page, and like that's just super awesome. He is glossing over several details, but I'm explaining the things that are missing. So we have a stave class that remap pitches entirely. Here's a stave class that remaps pitch. Oh yeah. So this is a drum stave. And so I've never been able to read percussion well, but basically, like, I think these are snare drum hits. They're either hi-hats or snare drums, and then like these are bass hits, and then toms. I forget, but these are all different. This is indicating to a drummer what drum head to hit at what beat. And it my guess is these are hi-hats, these are snares, this is your bass, and this is a tom and or some type of cymbal. I'm not sure which, but have fun with how that works. So this is cool too, because now he's starting to talk about MIDI, and this is where I'm talking about Ken Wheeler, because this is Ken Wheeler's wheelhouse of like bringing MIDI to JavaScript. So general MIDI places drum and percussion voices on a bunch of notes in the bottom octaves of a keyboard, but those notes are not related to where the drums are printed on a stave. In CSS, a drum stave class can be defined that maps those pitches to their correct rows. So yeah, so like, okay, so this is like a drum kit. This is just like a singular percussive instrument. So like this could be like a bass drum. It's like, so like that's awesome. I mean, I'm curious how the classes. Actually, you know what? I don't even have to go bother him. I can actually just go read it because he gave it to us. So he just told us what the pitches were. The pitches, and then he tells us what type of stem style to use. Okay. This is cool because like percussion is the same as a standard like voicing structure. So he's able to just use that, but then name it in a certain way that makes sense. I like that. Now let's go look at this one. So this one is just a percussive stave. And I guess because percussive staves don't have any of the note, everything. Okay, he just called everything C3 on a line and made it work. That's just bravo at this point. I'm like so happy with this. All right, let's talk about chords and lyrics for a minute. So CSS Grid allows us to align other symbols inside the notation grid. Chords and lyrics dynamics can also be lined up with and span timed events. Okay. You're like, what? He just threw a bunch of words. I don't know what any of that means now. That's fine. We can explain. So chords. So these are chords up here. So this is trying to say, hey, on this beat, I want to put something called a chord. So chord indicates like the name of a structure. So if you look at this note real quick, you have a C, and an E. Now, the naming isn't super easy to explain to somebody who's not used to music, but it's based off of something called a triad. So 3 notes. So like A, C, this is also an E here. See how they stack up really nicely with spaces? That's a chord effectively. That's where the naming kind of comes from. Usually it's actually what's in the bass clef, but that's not always true either. It's like this is an A flat major with a G underneath. So like that's a G. This is A flat major. And it's A flat major because it's an A flat, a C, and an E flat. And it's a nice sounding chord. And then so that gives us the chords. The lyrics here are have to line up with the beats. So in the bleak midwinter, frosty wind made moan. Something like that. That's kind of like your beats and whatnot. I'm not singing perfect, but you kind of get where I'm going with this. So now we have our chords and our lyrics. That's really cool. These were the accidentals, or the like specifying what the note actually is. You could pull that all into the key signature if you wanted. That's a thing. The thing that's throwing me is he talks about dynamics. Oh, okay. So he's not showing dynamics here. Dynamics are something that would indicate like what's going, like how to make music sound a certain way. Like how loud should it be? Should it get louder? Should the volume decrease? Do I need to make it pop at certain points? Those are dynamics, and he's saying that he's able to do that because of some of this. So that makes sense. So beams, chords, and okay, so yeah, here are the beams. Beams are like these lines here. So beams, chords, and some of the longer rests are made to span columns by mapping their data duration attribute to grid column span values. So that's actually kind of cool. So like this note here, right? No, I want the C. Where's the C? There's a C. Here's the C5. There's the C5 I'm actually looking for, though. Okay, so see this C5 right here? Its duration is 1.5 beats, right? And that's right because there's this D flat right here that comes in at half a beat. There it is. Here's the D flat. So this D flat comes in at the half a beat, but it comes at the 2.5 beat, right? Because one is like right here, 2 is roughly right here. This is the half of 2. Math. That's all really cool. So he's handling where things are by giving them duration values. And then lastly, the whole system is size in M. So to scale it, we simply change. Oh, see, that's nice. Like, because everything's M, it'll just be nice. Is this a perfect signal? Honestly, I'm quietly gobsmacked that it works so well. But if you are looking for caveats, one, CSS cannot automatically position a new clef key signature at the beginning of each wrapped line. Fair. Two, tie a head to a new head on a new line. All right, let's talk about that for a second. Okay, because this is all flex. Like, so if he used grid instead of flex, it would force the thing to the page. What he's trying to say is, like, sometimes you change keys at the beginning of new lines, but because it's all flex, you can't guarantee it's going to be here. It's going to be somewhere else. And you're always supposed to do it at the beginning of new line. So, like, when you're writing music, like, this treble clef with, if it had any sharps or flats, should be on every single. Let me find a piece of sheet music real quick, because this will just, like, explain everything I'm trying to say. Preferably something with a. Okay, here we go. Good enough. Okay, see how on every single line here, and it's. Can I copy the image and then just go throw it over here? That's not what I just said. I wanted to copy image. Why aren't you letting me copy? Damn you, Amazon. Oh, okay. This works. Okay, so see how there's a flat here? See how that's repeated on every single line? Because of the flex feature, he's saying that's not possible. The other thing he's talking about is, see this line right here? And that line right there. What that's saying is, hey, those are actually one note, but they're too long for them for the measure they're in. So, like, this is going to take 5 beats. This is going to take 3 beats, right? But it can only fit 2 in this measure. You don't mess with the measures, but you're allowed to go over them. So these are tied notes. If it changes notes when it's got a tie, it's called a slur. Same thing. So he's saying that doesn't work very well. Makes me sad, but I understand. That's actually a very, very reasonable restriction. And 3, angled beams are a whole story onto themselves. Oh, okay. So see this right here? That's an angled beam. So 1/16, 1/32 note beams are hard to align because we cannot know precisely where their stems are until after the grid has laid them out. Which means you get garbage like this. Oh, that stinks. I was like, man, are you gonna be able to do all this without any JavaScript? No, you have to throw in some JavaScript at the end to fix it. I'm gonna just go. I'm just gonna go message this guy because I thought this was cool. I wanna write a post stuff ban. Yo stuff ban. Just read. This is really cool what you accomplished. Just did a whole stream segment going through it, and I'm just gobsmacked with how good it is. Do you have a live demo somewhere of the full project I can check out? I'm gonna follow just because, like, dude just blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. Man, that was cool. That was just cool. I'm like, oh, here's the repo. All right, we're gonna just star this because why am I guess I haven't logged into GitHub on my own account in who knows how long. Who wants to be me? Also, I need to go set this to 11 or I'm going to be in trouble. All right, let's approve. We are going to star this because I think this is awesome, and we are going to. We're not going to follow. Oh my God, here it is. Here it is. Oh man, we might build something with this because I think this is just. I'm just going to go follow with that tweet I just wrote and say, never mind, I found it. Never mind. More in the future. Okay. Hello. I'm getting a delivery, and I don't know why. Why am I getting a delivery? Yeah, that's not okay. I am not getting a delivery. Hi, what address you looking for? What? There's a woman outside. She almost dropped something off at our house, and I was confused.
Who is it?
I don't know, but she's looking for. I think she's looking for them. Yeah, she's looking for them. Okay, she's figuring it out. Sorry, she was walking, and I was like, "Why are we getting a delivery?" Hi everybody. She wants me to be almost done.
No. I thought you were.
I'm live. Hi. What's up?
Should I put the food away, or will you be eating it soon?
I'm probably gonna be wrapping up here in the next 5 minutes because we just hit a really good conclusion point. So, yeah. Like, hey, babe, can you go outside and help this woman find the address she's looking for? All right, thank you. We're gonna be good neighbors, everybody. We want to be good neighbors. Okay, so this was awesome. This was a fun stream to come back to. I got to do a bunch of music nerd stuff. I like being a music nerd. I am a music nerd. So yeah, that was fun, y'all. I had a great time. I'm back. We'll start going Thursdays again. I think here's the plan. We're gonna actually do Node 22 next week because yeah, we're gonna do Node 22 next week because I read some stuff. I saw a post by Ben Holmes that just made me go like, wait, huh? What? That's really cool. So we're gonna check out Node 22 because I have a feeling I'm gonna be floored with just how cool it is. And yeah, and then the thing that we're building. I have time and time again thought about building a CMS from the ground up, specifically one targeting towards event platforms. I've started this project on and off like 3 or 4 times now, and I keep stopping on it because I just stop having time. This stream is a great time for me to have time. So with a little bit of like Copilot help, a little bit of Excala drawing, kind of talking through all the little things that we need to do, I think we're going to try and build that on stream until y'all get bored with it. And we're just going to have a great time. So, thank you for coming. I know we didn't get a lot of viewership tonight, but that's okay. I think I'm just getting back in the groove. I got to get my schedule back. So, here we are, back in action. We'll keep doing this every Thursday, hopefully at 5. There might be some exceptions coming up. tell y'all why once I have news to share. Um, but other than that, happy Thursday. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.